boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome in once again to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom, where I am your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and joining me this week, give it up for Mitch. He's back, black. Say hello to all the devils out there, Mitch.
Hello.
All right. So here we are. There's been a lot of sports, honestly. I kind of said last time we were talking that, man, we're kind of entering a dead period, right? Before kind of the basketball and hockey playoffs kick off, before NFL draft and NFL, actual football comes back. Baseball hasn't quite started yet, like the Major League, but we've had stuff. We've had a World Baseball Classic. We've had March Madness kickoff. So, and then obviously free agency news and things of that nature. So we do have a little bit to talk about. But before I get into that, Mitch, anything on your mind that you want to talk about in the world of sports?
No, we can get into it. Not too much. I'm sure it'll come to me as we get into it. I'll probably derail it off topic into what I was thinking, so we'll get there.
Yeah, that sounds about our MO. Yeah, if you came here for organization and structure, you're listening to the wrong podcast. I do put together notes, and it doesn't take Mitch long to get us fully off the rails, and I dive in right behind him. So, all right. Then let's talk World Baseball Classic a little bit. I mean, you mentioned before we started recording, full disclosure, neither of us really watched the World Baseball Classic.
I watched innings at times, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I didn't not watch it, but I also didn't religiously watch the World Baseball Classic. So for those who don't know, the way it ended up, unfortunately for the U.S., we did lose to Venezuela 3-2. Been plenty of memes about that, because technically we're occupying their country right now, so we still won. But no, Venezuela takes home the dub in the World Baseball Classic. So after losing to Japan last year in the finals, we now lose to Venezuela. So the U.S. just cannot get over the hump in the World Baseball Classic. Do you have any thoughts about the event itself, how it works, how it operates?
No, the only thing that stuck out to me was more of the ending, if you don't mind me jumping to it. It was
Yeah,
just
go
kind
for it.
of it was always, okay, granted, I didn't watch, every ending and all that, but it was it seemed like Venezuela cared more, it didn't seem like the Americans were. I'm like, the score is 3-2. I don't understand how. I mean, maybe I was missing something, but it's they got. I think they got passed in the eighth inning, right? They were winning the game all the way up to the eighth inning. Venezuela, I think, hits 2 in the eighth, and they pass. And so it's they were very close to winning. I don't really know how much they didn't want it, so that was weird for me.
Yeah, no, the big scandal's not the right word, but the big thing of the tournament was the U.S. almost didn't advance out of the group stage. The U.S. was in a situation where they needed a certain result in a game, and the coach did not know it. The manager thought we had already punched our ticket when we hadn't, and didn't realize it until mid-game. And that was kind of a big deal, because, you mentioned, do we care enough? It's if you're not there playing if you don't care, but also it's not a good look when people are saying, oh, maybe we don't care enough, and then you don't understand the rules of the game, or the rules of the tournament. It'd be one thing if our catcher didn't know the situation, because the catcher's trying to win every game, right? But the manager, it's your job to know these situations. So I don't know, that's a bad look for the U.S. team to have our manager not realize that we were in a must-win kind of scenario and not taking it that way.
For sure.
But yeah, as far as the actual results, it seems to be pretty popular. A lot of people that are obviously into baseball are really into it. I know there's been some talk of trying to make this a regular thing, maybe doing it in the middle of the season during the All-Star break or something. I heard was thrown out there. I don't know how that would work, but that's what I heard thrown out there, just to do it when everyone's in peak playing condition, because right now is spring training type situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what changes may come, but what I do know is it seems to be pretty popular for baseball enthusiasts, and that's always a good thing, right? Anytime you can have another international competition that matters and people care about, And unlike with other sports, because we talked about this last time on the pod, it's a lot more lopsided in other sports. Like if you did an international basketball tournament, like yeah, you could do it, but the U.S. is going to win. Whereas this is an international tournament where any team can win, especially in a one and done situation, because baseball's a lot more streaky, up and downs. Like one swing of the bat can change the world, as they say. So yeah. I do think it makes it very interesting. Like I mean, the fact that Venezuela and the U.S. are in the finals and last year's winners not in the finals, that's interesting, right? They weren't even like going for it, right? The semis were Venezuela versus Italy and USA versus Dominican Republic. Like that's that's kind of neat. It's different teams than you'd expect.
Sure. Yeah, especially Italy.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway,
it's also I know I just the one thing it's interesting to me like the players that are allowed to play and everything like that. It's just like if I were the Padres or whatever. There's a couple players I don't really know if I really want them going back and playing for a lot of these countries. That's the interesting part for me. Right?
Yeah, and
so
that might
money.
be why they want to move it to like the All-Star break, because then it's like during the season you're in playing condition already. You don't have to leave the country because it's like be during the All-Star break at wherever the All-Star city is. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how. I don't know if they've actually. I don't mean to derail it again, but it'd be interesting to see how the NFL owners allow some of their NFL players to play in the flag football for the Olympics. That'll be interesting. I don't think a lot of the owners are going to let their players go play in the Olympics.
I also don't know if a lot of them
want make the team.
Not want to, but just like it. It's not the same sport. It is, but it isn't, right? Like being able to grab a flag, protect your flag, like those are skills, right? That aren't the same as what they do in football, because you can't. Like, yeah, I could protect my flag by stiff arming is what Derrick Henry would do, but like he can't do that in flag football. You can't stiff arm somebody, right? So like it's not quite the same game. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of overlap, because there is, but it's not quite the same game playing flag football versus playing tackle football.
Yeah, the opportunity to win a gold medal and get to go to the Olympics. Like, what if it's like, going to France? That would be a great one. I mean, some places wouldn't be as cool as others, but you know what I mean? You get to actually go to, yeah,
No,
sure.
no, 100% for sure. I'm just saying like, and I don't know how they view it, but they also might view it as like
Completely
not
unnecessary for
not
your
the same level
franchise.
of like, they may not view it the same. They may look down is not the word I'm looking for, but maybe it is like. They
Yeah,
may see flag football as like beneath what they do and not want to step down to that level. Like, I don't know how they feel, but something like, no, I'm a professional football player. I'm not going to play flag football, right? That's like an
sure.
intramural sport. That's like, that's the kind of thing you do as an intramural sport. You play flag football, not tackle football. So,
Yeah, that's true.
but yeah, I mean it. But and again, and also like to that point, I just don't know what the level of competition is going to be as well in flag football. Like, I don't know, is that a thing in other places? Because it's like, there's basketball leagues in Europe, there's baseball leagues all over the world, right? There's
Yeah,
not American football leagues in a lot of places. In fact, most places call it American football because we're the only ones that call it that, because we're the only place that's really played. There's a CFL in Canada, and I think there's like a minor league in England, but
so I just Googled it. I definitely don't know this off the top of my, but according to previous 2024 championships and the rankings, would you like to guess some of the countries that are considered our biggest rivals in for the gold medal in flag football?
based purely on the fact that I read a book called Playing for Pizza about football in Italy back in the day, I'm going to say Italy.
They are not on the list as potential
I'm pretty
threats.
sure that book was pure fiction, but that was my best guess. No, maybe like a team that plays rugby, so like maybe like in Australia or in England.
So, yeah, I'll give you Austria. You're close. It's a completely different continent, but
Not close geographically, but close on the pronunciation by default. I will take it,
yeah, I
Mitch.
could have
Thank
just
you.
misheard you a little bit.
Appreciate the boost,
But
brother.
surprise, it's going to be surprising, as I'll give you the clue. And they're also close to America. I'll give you that as a clue. Like geographically, not like as in the wording. You want the answers?
Yeah, like yeah. Well, give me
Mexico.
either that or give me some clues. Okay, Mexico. Well, okay then. Okay, like Canada then.
Yeah, Canada's
Okay.
another one.
Yeah. So
So
the
that was geographically close, but not word close like
yeah.
Australia.
Well, those geographically make sense because, like I said, it's like it is an American sport. It's bled over into
Yeah,
Canada. It's bled over into Mexico, but like because they're like it stems out from here,
right.
right?
And then
Uh,
the next top ranked ones go Panama, which is prior to what you're
that
saying.
is surprising.
And then it goes Austria, Germany, Denmark. So that little spot, I guess, in Europe apparently messes with, F's with football.
Well, and it makes you wonder, like, so a lot of our best players in American soccer come from military families where they had their kid and raised them
100%.
in Germany. I wonder if our military bases in Germany have anything to do with the fact that Germany plays flag football.
Unless you're Giuseppe De Rossi, born and raised in New Jersey, play all the competitive levels in America, and then at the age of 17 decide to be Italian because Italy national team's like, hey, you could actually start for us. And then he starts for the last like 8 years for Italy, including the top scorer at CONCACAF. Like, oh man, don't get me started with American foreign born or even born in America playing for other teams.
I assure you that's not what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was point out maybe Germany likes flag football because, like, American military bases, maybe they started a league, got the Germans into it type
100%.
situation.
There's a guy named Julian Green that I used to, when we were growing up high school, he was super good from 15 to 18, 19, and he had the chance to declare for America or Germany because he was born to an American military-based dad in Germany. But guess what he chose? Anyways, move on.
Yeah, well, and speaking of that, one more thing about about the baseball classic, jumping around. Uh, Italy's team had like 20 of their players were American-born players that were playing for Italy,
Yeah,
and because like apparently that tournament doesn't have like the same. It's not as strict on the requirements as like the Olympics are for playing for like a country.
yeah.
And Finney was talking about that how like a lot of those guys were U.S. players. Anyway,
Speaking of Vinny, isn't it his birthday tomorrow?
I
Something
mean,
like that.
we'd
Happy
celebrate,
birthday.
but he ain't here, so no, it's not his fault. We normally
Okay,
record
he
these
won't
on.
listen to this, so he won't know
No,
we wished him a
well, if he
happy
doesn't listen, we're gonna have
birthday.
stern talking to. No, we normally record the podcast on Wednesdays. Couldn't do that this week because we had some other things going on, so we had to do it on a Friday, which Vinny was not available. So not his fault that he's not here. That's why I'm not throwing any shade at him. Um, but yeah, so back to your list. So yeah, Mexico, Canada. You said Austria, and then Denmark and Germany. Denmark is the most interesting one to me, I think, just because like it's just so random. It's also very cold there, so like it's weird they would be like out and about playing flag football.
Yeah.
But hey, to each their own. Whatever works for you, right?
And I apologize. Italy was right there at right outside the top. They're at six. So I said they couldn't see them, but that's because I just didn't click more or
No, that's
more
yeah.
team ranked.
We don't need to spend an hour talking about the the top ranked teams. We're not making a March
Yeah.
Madness bracket for it. But
Speaking of
yeah,
March Madness
and
bracket,
again, the only reason I said that is like I read that that book back in the day. So it was back when I've never been a big reader. Dad wanted to try to get me to read, so he thought the best choice to do that was to give me a book on football. And to
did you
his
go
credit, I did read it. So
did you go chalk this year in the tournament, or did you have some spicy picks?
all right, yeah, we're gonna hard pivot to March Madness then. Okay, that's fine because yeah, I don't even know how we got on flag football in the first place. So we'll hard pivot to March Madness. Yeah, I did not go chalk. In fact, I can even put my bracket on screen for those who watch this
Yeah, I'll see it.
on YouTube. Uh, well, actually, there we go. No, I did not go chalk. I mean, I do have like a chalk team winning. I have Arizona winning because like they seem to be the hard favorite. But well, that didn't actually open anything. There we go. They seem to be the hard favorite, but no, like I always make a bunch of weird picks, which usually hoses me. I haven't actually looked yet. I've actually missed quite a few of these, I guess. So yeah, we can break down the opening week. So Duke and Siena. Let's talk about that game, Mitch, because you were texting about that. Our good buddy Austin went to Duke, and you were
Yeah, I'll
texting
be
about
honest. That was one of the few games I watched fully. All the other games I just kind of watched parts. So it's going to be the only game I'm going to be able to comment on. They were down 15 or 16 and a half, and then down 4 or 5 with a couple minutes to go. I was just having fun with Austin in the group chat saying, "Let me know when you're nervous or whatever." And he didn't text back until Duke had won, so that let me shows he was probably a little nervous. Also, I think 16's never beaten a one, correct? Correct me, right?
I thought it finally happened a few years ago, right? Let's find
Oh, my
out.
bad. I forget. 16. But yeah, it would be a it'd probably be a top, five upset of all time. So,
Yeah, it's happened.
two
Yeah,
times.
twice, but they're both in
Two
the last few
times.
years. Yeah, when
Gotcha.
UMBC beat Virginia handily, and then
Oh yeah, I remember that
when
now. I
Fairleigh
remember that.
Dixon
Yeah.
ousted Purdue. Yeah.
I
Anyway,
actually remember the Virginia one from 18 more than two, but yeah, yeah.
but yeah, as you can see,
Well,
I had TCU upsetting Ohio State. That was a close game. I got that one right. I did not have High Point beating Wisconsin in a close game. There's always a 12 that beats a 5, and I think I picked 112 to beat the 5, but this isn't the one I picked, and obviously I should have. Um, but yeah, there's been a few upsets already, which just goes to show you how these rankings are. You know what I mean? We've already had a 12 beat a 5, 9 and 8 are close enough that I'm not going to worry about that. An 11 beat a 6, because keep in mind, this isn't like the number 11th ranked team beating the number 6th ranked team, right? There are 4 11s, which means this is the number 44, 44th to 48th ranked team playing the number 6 ranked team, which really means he's like the top 24. So it's like this is a top 44 beating a top 24. It's not really the number 11 beating a number 6. There's a bigger gap than you think. Let's see what other upsets have we had so far. Vandy. Oh, I didn't pick Vandy to win. I think I must have misclicked here. Maybe this is. Oh
yeah.
no, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one where I picked a 12 seed to beat a lower seed, and I picked against Vandy. That was a mistake. I should have gone SEC.
So
Uh,
statistically, there's usually like a 12v5 upset a
every time,
year.
yeah, and there's been 2 so far.
And in the last 5 years or 6 years, I forget the exact numbers. I can memorize them when I was reading it a couple days ago. But there's been what's the other, 11, what's the other matchup? 11-6. There's been 11-6 has been 50% of the time the 11 has actually won in the last 5 years or 6 years. I remember reading that. So knowing all these things, do you have like a general strategy when you fill out brackets? You just go based off the eye test, or how do you generally go about approaching filling out your bracket?
So here's the thing: there are 68 teams in the bracket. Now, before someone says like, "No, dude, there's 64," do math. No, because there's 4 playing games. So there are 68 teams in this. I very clearly don't watch enough college basketball to know how good 68 different teams are,
For
right?
sure.
So when I make my picks, a lot of times I go based on obviously what I have seen, but also what I've been hearing. Not necessarily the experts, but just when I hear people talk about it, when they talk about like, oh man, did you see how good like Arizona? The reason I picked them to win it all, like I've heard so many people talk about how they looked unstoppable, looked unbeatable, looked amazing. Like I was like, okay, they're a 1 seed. Everyone seems to think they look different, so that's why I went with that. Others, I just go based on the program and their history. If it is a historically good basketball school, you know what I mean, versus a more of an up and comer or a not a historically good basketball school, I'll make that pick.
Yeah,
And
you
then
pick
some of my
Arizona.
picks just go to be with SEC homer, like this Missouri Miami. I haven't seen either of these teams play basketball this year. Missouri's in the SEC, Miami's not. I picked Missouri, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, you said historical, and I was like, well, you picked Arizona to win. That's not very historical now here. They get a lot of 1 seeds and don't necessarily win I'm just joking around,
haha.
just in case Miles is listening. But yeah, I generally look at what I think is the best conference because a lot of times they're gonna try and represent the conferences and spread them out based on geographical locations. I know that the selection committee doesn't like to admit a lot of that. I like to just pick what I think is the best conference in college basketball, and then I just overpick on those because it's like a lot of these out of conference schedules don't determine really how good you are. So like if you look at Arizona's out of conference and all that kind of stuff, it's like they don't have very tough out of conference schedules and they didn't play a lot of teams from every single conference. They play maybe 3 or 4 from the Big East and then they play 3 or 4 from I forget what was it, the ACC or whatever. But so if your division or your conference is not all that great, then you're gonna look really good, aka Gonzaga every time. I mean, not that Gonzaga's not really good, but it's like they don't if they don't have a good non-conference schedule, then you can't really determine how good they are. So I feel like a lot of times when I do this, because I'm like you, I don't watch 68 basketball teams worth of games. I just figure out which conference I think is the best, and then I just overload on all the teams that made it from that conference. Does that make sense?
100%, yeah. And I'm also like I'm a big SEC homer, so like I said, because I'm an SEC homer, I will pick them. But also being an SEC homer, those are the teams that I have seen. For example, this Georgia St. Louis matchup. I haven't seen St. Louis play a single game, but I have seen Georgia. I didn't think Georgia was that good. So when I saw this matchup was an 8 versus a 9, I was like, okay, 8 versus a 9 means the committee thinks they're relatively even. I don't think Georgia's that good. I'm going to pick St. Louis. St. Louis blew them out, beat them by 25 points, right?
Right.
So that's kind of where my logic comes into play. But yeah, a lot of this is just for fun. I'm in a work bracket, so you have to give it a
Sure.
witty name. So I kind of decided I was going to pick Arizona and name my team Arizona all the way because like it has the name Arizona in the name.
I get it.
Which normally look if Auburn's in it, I take Auburn the whole way. But Auburn, we lost our coach and we didn't make the tourney, so I couldn't go with my usual strat for the past few years of just having Auburn winning the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I think I
What was
had
his name?
3 1s making the final four. No, yeah, I had 3 1s in the final four, I think, or something like that. So it's not all chalk, but it's a lot of chalk. But yeah,
Yeah, what was the guy's father, Pearl? Bruce
yeah,
Pearl's
yeah.
kid.
Bruce Pearl was our coach. He's great. His son Stephen Pearl inherited the team, but just I mean a few
Great.
things. One, we lost a lot of our players from last year. We only had I think one returning player. Um, so the team made a Final Four run. So we didn't have as many returning players. We have a new coach. Anytime you have a new coach, you're gonna have some people that want to transfer out. So it's gonna take time to build the program. Even though he was an assistant under his dad, he's not his dad. His dad has a lot more of a reputation. His dad was a big name in college basketball before he came to Auburn, and then at Auburn he took us to Final Four. So like he's improved on his legacy. So we knew it was going to be a step down, but it is really hard to see the step down going from Final Four to not in the tournament. That's a big step down. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, what about you? How did your picks go? Did you take chalk all the way, or who's your overall winner? What you got?
I might not have been in the best state of mind when I filled out my bracket, but yeah, I got like St. John's going probably too far, but we'll see how it goes.
Dude, I had St. John's going pretty far too because I saw the interview of the guy that invested in the football league. Did you see that? So like the whatever the spring football league that they keep trying to get going.
I
He's
forget,
like
yeah.
some billionaire philanthropist investor, and they were interviewing him. Like it's the thing he and The Rock are doing, and like apparently he's had a lot of like successful business ventures and stuff in the past, which I think this might be a bad investment, that spring football. We'll see how that goes. But he's a St. John's alum, and he was hyping them up. And I'm like, I know this is an interview, and he's an alum, but he got me on the bandwagon. So I also have St. John's going pretty deep. I do have him getting upset by Sparty, Michigan State. Or not upset, but beat by Sparty, Michigan State to get to the Final Four. But I got him going to the Elite Eight. So how far you got
Right.
St. John's going?
I think all the way, but
All the way. Oh,
we'll
okay.
see how it goes. See, I have this. I fall prey to cramming in the last minute, and cramming in the last minute usually means conference tournaments. At the end of the
Right.
year, and a lot of people had UConn as like um, a potential one seed and going. A lot of people have them going five. I saw St. John's dismantle UConn in that championship game, and I'm listening to all these answers. I get it's one game, right, and it's only at the end of the year, but it's
Right.
like, wait, and then also Rick Pitino. If you look at everywhere he's coached, even like the Greece championships that he won in Greece for the 3 years that he was there, he's never lost. He wins everywhere he goes.
Yeah, he doesn't lose his job because he's bad at coaching. He loses his job because he's bad at being a person.
Yeah.
So
So if you want me to pick the best coach of the tournament, which used to be a huge back in the day, it used to be like guard play early and then big man and coaching later or whatever used to be like the strategy. But now that the kids aren't like 18 or 19 anymore, and a lot of these kids are like 25, 26 years old playing in this tournament, I don't know how much the coach really has an effect anymore, but I'm going to take yeah, and then I saw them dismantle UConn, and I saw how highly everyone was talking about UConn. I was like, that wasn't even a matchup. Maybe UConn was like sick or something, but I don't know what. Like they're just gonna forget that game. So I was like, this could be a huge dark horse. And then also, they were supposedly supposed to be a 4 seed, blah blah. But yeah, basically after that, it's a lot of chalk. So nothing exciting.
Yeah, I mean, but a ton's happened. So this is just ESPN. Obviously, there's a lot of brackets on a lot of other websites, but ESPN had 26.5 million brackets submitted, and there are only 1461 perfect brackets left, and we're not even through the first round. So
Yeah, I saw an article that like after the first game, 50% of the brackets were gone. So it was an 8-9 matchup, which means, you know what I mean? It's like already statistically after
yeah,
one
I think it was
game.
the Villanova Utah State game, right? Because that one
Yeah,
got me
yeah.
too. Yeah,
Yeah, that, and so I was like, well, there goes half of them, and just one game is just wild to think about.
because that was just the strategy I was talking about earlier, right? It's like I look at these two schools and like I haven't seen their games this year, but I know Villanova is traditionally like a big basketball power. Utah State
Yeah.
is not. Villanova is slightly higher seeded. I'm taking Nova,
Oh, I
and
definitely took Nova.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people outside of people who are like Utah State fans or watched Utah State, a lot of people that came in, for lack of a better word, ignorant, like I was, they probably picked Villanova to win this game, and
Yeah.
that's what busts all the brackets.
Just so, um, just interesting thing that just keeps coming to my head is like I don't want to be that guy who is like get off my lawn or whatever, and I'm getting old or whatever. But like just to show how different the landscape of everything is like back in when we were growing up and going through college and high school, and even then it was like you wanted the one and done. I know Duke a lot of times shied away from it till like 2008. Later on 2010, Coach K came around to it. John Calipari at Kentucky was like the king of it, or like the poster boy for it. So like you wanted to go get these Anthony Davises, or these one and done. I know Kyrie didn't play for Duke, but they ended up winning a national title that year anyways. But like, or the Kevin Durant's, right, of Texas, and you go far, blah blah blah, right? Last year in the top 5 picks of the NBA draft, the number 2 pick was Dylan Harper to the Spurs out of Rutgers, and the number 5 pick was Ace Bailey out of Rutgers to the Jazz. So the Rutgers had 2 of the top 5 picks last year in the NBA draft and did not make the NCAA tournament. Was not a top 68 team. Can you imagine if Duke or Kentucky or these Kansas or whatever, or Florida with Joakim Noah and all these guys like, and Al Horford and all that, or Syracuse with Kamau? You have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA draft, and you're not a top 68 team in the country. Fast forward to this year, BYU has the number 1 pick in, oh my gosh, Baton, or what is his name, and they just got bounced in the first round. Like, these are completely different landscapes than what we grew up on, where these top picks in the draft carried you. I saw Emeka Okafor when we were in high school carry UConn to a national title with Ben Gordon, who was not a decent player, but he was, I think a second round pick. Emeka Okafor went 10th or ninth overall, and like those are gone. They can't even get you past the first round in the last 2 years, or even in the tournament. Think about that. It's wild to me.
Yeah, it's such a crazy stat in a sport where 5 guys play at a time. There's 12 guys on a team. You have 2 top 5 picks, and you don't even make the tournament. You have the number 1 overall player, and as you mentioned, you get bounced in the first round. Like, it's crazy to think about that because yeah, when we were growing up, if you had 1 star, you could make a run, right?
Oh, not just a run. You can win the whole thing.
Yeah,
Syracuse, with Carmelo, I know Carmelo's an exaggeration attempt, but Durant too at Texas, the best player around them was Akeem Warwick. And that guy barely was in the pros for like 3 or 4 years, and he won a national title there. So it's like you don't have to even go to like to Kentucky or Kansas. You could be Dwayne Wade at Wake Forest, or no, Marquette. I'm sorry, Marquette, and then or Duncan at Wake or something like that, and you can carry it to a national title with just one guy. Now you could have 2 in the top 5, and who cares?
yeah. But I mean that's the fun of it, right? Because March Madness, like that's why March Madness is so enjoyable. Even if you're not a huge basketball fan or a huge college fan, or your team isn't in the tournament, that's what makes it so fun. Because anything can happen in a one and done style tournament like this. Like any team can get hot and make a run, and you can have these crazy upsets and these crazy things that get you excited, and then like you get to root for that underdog. Like yeah, sure, I picked Arizona to win, and that would be great for my bracket. But you know, if Arizona ends up coming up against High Point in the Elite Eight, I'm gonna be rooting for High Point. You know what I mean? Like that'd be crazy. The 12 seed that's not a D1 school. You know what I mean? Like that'd be awesome. So I definitely rooting for them.
The fact that they won that was probably the best of the opening day, I think. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And another thing that I will say, my biggest gripe with March Madness in general is the play-in game. It's already a big tournament. We don't need 4 more games to the tournament. But if you're going to have them, the play-in team should be the 16 seed. This whole, like, the play-in team is going to be the 11 seed is complete garbage to me. Like, Texas, for example, they had to beat NC State to get into the tournament in the play-in game. Either Texas was good enough to be in the tournament as an 11 seed and they were punished and had to play a play-in game, or they weren't good enough to be the 11 seed, they should be the 16 seed, and they're getting a boost like, hey, because you have to play an extra game, you get to be seeded so much higher, so you have an easier road to the championship. Like, neither of those is fair to anybody, right? One situation is super unfair to Texas and NC State if they should have been 11 seeds but instead of to play in, right? That's not fair to them. Or if the argument is like, no, these are the two 16 seeds playing for a spot, well, then it's not fair to the seeds 12 through 16 that got bumped down, so Texas could be bumped up because they beat another 16 seed, right?
Yeah.
I don't like the way. I mean, I don't like the playing game in general, but if you're going to have it, that's fine. But you can't have, like, what was it? There was playing games. Howard versus UMBC was for the 16 seed. Texas versus NC State was for the 11. And then Prairie View A&M and Lehigh was for 16. Miami of Ohio and SMU was for the 11. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Why are 2 of the playing games 16 seeds, 2 of them are 11 seeds? It doesn't make any sense. Make them all 4 16 seeds. Make it make sense.
Yeah, the only thing I know you said you touched on it, but I would just stress that, like, the Big West is where, we went to college, or you know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
who they beat in their division? It's like Irvine, Cal State Fullerton, Davis, Santa Barbara, Long Beach State isn't bad, but they had a bad year this year. And like, uh, what's CSUB again? Is that
Cal State, University of San Bernardino?
no? That would be an SB, right? Is CSUB new? What is this?
Where are you seeing this? I don't even know where CSUV is.
It's a Cal State University Bakersfield, which I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know that was a
Did
Cal
not know
State
that
team.
existed. Yeah.
So that and they went 2-18 this year in basketball in the Big West. Okay, so if you're Hawaii and you're making the tournament as a 16 seed, I'd be so impressed if they got a higher seed than someone like a Texas on a play-in game. You know what I'm trying to say? Like that's the only thing I would stress probably weighs more than you presented a great argument, but like I just couldn't imagine Texas being a six, you know what I mean? Like that would be so lame for BYU if they got in and their first game was against Hawaii.
I mean,
And they didn't be
they might still be in the tournament if their first game was against Hawaii,
that's
right?
that's a good point. That's a good point. But I'm just saying like that would be the easiest first game ever because you're not playing an 11 seed because like you said, that's a 44 team, right? There's no way Hawaii's in the top 100. I promise you. They're beating Bakersfield. So
For those who don't know where Bakersfield is, it is a farm town. There's nothing there.
yeah, Long
So
Beach State's usually pretty good, and we had a couple. It's not terrible, but like yeah, that conference, anyone in that conference who makes it to the March Madness through our Santa Barbara or whatever is not a top 120 school.
right, I understand you have to give spots to the conference winners. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying like the Texas NC State. You're either saying that NC State was good enough to be an 11, but because they lost, they don't even get to go to the tournament.
Yeah, it's tough to.
Or you're saying that that Texas should have been a 16. They were on the outside. They were a bubble team on the outside looking in, but because they beat another team that should have been a 16, we're going to give them a 5-spot bump, which again with four brackets is a 20-spot bump. So it's just it's unfair to somebody. I just don't know who, and I don't like it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, so you got St. John's going all the way. Do you have do you have a team that you're rooting for outside your bracket? Just a team you like in general, like because you like them for whatever reason, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna root for the Big West team, Hawaii. So I don't even know what side of the bracket they're on. But oh, they already lost to Arkansas. I
Yeah,
forgot.
they're
They're
out.
out.
They're out. Yeah.
Okay, no, I have no rooting interest. I just, I'll text a couple of guys of our friends went to Duke, so it's fun to watch Duke. But no, I don't have any. It's nice, and it's nice
Hey,
this way.
Cal Baptist still in it.
I don't know if they're in our
I don't
in the
think so
Big
either.
West.
They're a private
I
school.
think they might be in the Mountain West, not the Big West.
Yeah.
They might be in the real conference with like Utah and Colorado and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah, no, I mean, I do like to see, as some say, like the elite blue bloods once you get closer to the eight because it makes better storylines. I mean, you like the Cinderella for so long, but then you don't really want it messing up your big boy heavyweight matchups. But I don't really care.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Um, let's see. Anything else about March Madness before we move on to a different sport?
It would be hard pressed for me to not mention that Miles and my father are huge Arizona fans. So I guess I am rooting a little bit for Arizona, but that's about it. All right, move on.
All right. So we will move on then. Let's talk football. Been a lot happening in football, obviously. Um, more players on the move. One such player, Jalen Waddle. We talked about how there was almost no value left in Waddle with his quarterback situation. Well, now he's got a new quarterback situation because he's been shipped off to the Broncos. So, what do you think this does for kind of everyone involved? Does this make you more in on Bo Nix? And then, as far as Broncos wide receivers, are you more in on Waddle or Sutton or neither because they're both there?
Um, yeah, so I would like to reverse it because I have a deep dive into this, but I don't want to go long-winded real quick. So I'd rather reverse it back to you and propose a question. Do you think Waddle is the clear one, or are they a split one, or it doesn't matter? They're going to dominate so much of the possession that what's his name who did really well last year? Oh my gosh, what's his name? It's just on the tip of my head. Troy
Troy
Franklin.
Franklin, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Is it a rotational system? Because we've seen Sean Payton offense in the past feature and rotate. We've seen Marquise Colston and Michael Thomas finish like legitimately number one fantasy wide receivers before. And
Yeah.
Michael Thomas's years was insane. So is this a feature or is this a rotational thing? And what do you think?
Well,
Is he the one?
well, that's the thing. It's about what they gave up for him, right? Like I'm trying to get the
Yeah.
trade details because I don't have them in front of me. But yeah, it was a first round pick. Yeah, it was a big deal. So they gave a first, a third, and a fourth to get Waddle in the fourth. So really, they traded a first and a third, is what happened.
Right.
You don't give up a first and a third round pick if you don't think that guy's going to be your one.
Yeah, but look at the ones who've been drafted in the first round for the last couple of years. It usually takes a couple of years for them to become the one. I mean, the guy out in Carolina. Oh my God, I'm terrible with names. Teddy McMillan.
Tet.
He did great in his first year. I don't know. There even look. I don't want to give a bad example with the pet sing offense with Marvin Harrison, but like Marvin Harrison was one of the highest, recruited can't miss guys first year top pick whatever, and his rookie year wasn't that great. So maybe giving up the one was more of like Denver's trying to win now as opposed to waiting for a Keon Coleman who was a number one pick. Xavier Worthy was the number one. I'm trying to remember all the ones over the last so many
Yeah, I mean,
years
like,
that.
yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. There have been some
Okay,
ones that have been great. There have been some ones that have been bust,
right,
and I do
yeah,
agree that generally speaking, it takes a couple years for a wide receiver to come
okay,
into
so
their
that's all,
own.
yeah.
But still, a first and a third, in my opinion, is a big enough,
He's your one.
yeah, like to thing to give up to say, that that's going to be your one.
Okay, well, and then going back to that. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to have him severely ranked very high on my board. You're telling like you saw how high I drafted RJ. Earmuffs for everyone in the fantasy league that's listening, but you saw how hard I drafted RJ Harvey. I am one of the biggest Sean Payton fantasy offenses you'll find. You go out and trade. That means Sean Payton is very hands-on micromanager type of head coach. Do you know he would this has got his fingerprints all over it. This type of trade would never happen without it being Sean Payton. So therefore that tells me it's the same reason why I wanted Harvey. It tells me that he has handpicked this guy. He moved up in the draft. This is the guy he wants. He could have gone. I know there are other guys in the league that might not be as talented as Waddle that aren't available. So Waddle could just be the best talented wide receiver available. I get there's part of that there, but Sean Payton's got to be like to give up these. I know where he can fit in my offense, and I know his value. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of where I am. Like I don't think the Broncos give up that draft capital. That like keep in mind, this is a team that last year we probably would have had going to the Super Bowl if not for the fact that Bo Nix breaks his ankle, right?
I still picked them. Remember?
I know, but I'm saying like
Yeah.
what I'm
Sorry.
saying is like in the way the playoffs broke down, they they would have beaten the Patriots if like the Patriots barely beat the Broncos without Bo Nix. If
Yeah.
Bo Nix plays that game, the Broncos win. Now Seattle might still win the whole shebang, but I think that
Yeah.
they're a Super Bowl team. So yeah, what we're talking about is like this is a Super Bowl contender who went out and gave up a first and a third for this guy. So yeah, they think he's the final piece, but
Right.
also yeah, I think there's plans for him to be that guy.
Target that guy. I agree.
Yeah.
Let's just hope no one's listening to this week's podcast.
Well,
And then we don't talk about
well,
Waddle again for the next 5 months.
my like I said, my only concern is that even if he is that guy, how much work is Sutton going to get? Because Sutton has been Bo Nix's favorite target, and sometimes even if you plan to make someone the guy, a quarterback in his comfort zone throws to a safety blanket.
So I think it's going to be what's the best example I could think of really quickly? I'll go with Jordan Addison. Some weeks they're going to need to throw the ball to win the game because the Broncos don't want to go out and throw the ball 45. They don't really care to do that.
Right.
So if they do need to go out and do that, it's going to be those weeks where Addison's going to have, or even, I don't like Jameson Williams' analogy. I know it's a little sensitive on this podcast, but, just kind of like that, where it's like he's going to be very situational. I think Sutton's going to have his 26-point weeks, and then it's going to be 2, 5, 3, 24, 5, 3. I think that's what's going to happen to him because they're just not going to throw the ball enough for him to actually, if assuming we're right about Waddle being that guy, I just don't, that team can't really support. I know Troy Franklin and Sutton did well last year, but Franklin was so hard to start. He was inconsistent. So I think Sutton might become more of that Franklin, what do you call it, like template.
Yeah, because wasn't correct me if I'm wrong. Was Franklin a teammate of Bo in Oregon? Wasn't
Oh,
he?
that's a great question. I forget.
Because I think he because I think a lot of the hype around and maybe I'm making stuff up, but I thought a lot of the hype around Franklin coming on as the number. Yeah, he was Bo Nix's target at Oregon.
Yeah, he
I think
was.
a
Yeah.
lot of the hype around him was they thought he was going to step into that role
Yeah.
as Bo Nix's target because they played together at Oregon, and yeah, he had 709 yards and 6 TDs last year. It was a good season. Like
Yeah.
this was a guy that people
That's
were,
exactly
were
what I
pretty high
think is
on.
going to happen. Yeah.
So
Well, here's another thing that's not really as well. Like, also, I think I said this on the podcast before. I think the Broncos are the third or fourth best roster overall, start to finish.
right.
I'm just saying this is hypothetical because he's never healthy, but let's just pretend Dobbins is hurt at the beginning of the year and healthy for the end of the year. Man, this is the most loaded team I've seen in a long time. And I know like imagine Bo Nix being, who's a serviceable QB. And if he really did have a sophomore slump last year, in hindsight, after let's say he has a great year this upcoming year, we're going to look back on it and be like, wow, he really powered through that sophomore slump meta or, like template of what he's supposed to be in having, as opposed to like, oh, yeah, Bo Nix came down to earth. So it's like this might be just a runaway team in the AFC, just completely dominant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about completely dominant, but yeah, I definitely think there's a good chance of them being the top dog in the AFC. Because like when you look at,
For sure.
can I still see the playoff bracket from this year? It'd make my life a lot easier. I guess not. But when you look at the playoff bracket from this past year,
Yeah.
a lot of the teams that were in the playoffs weren't like weren't teams that I felt super like good about. Like I said, the Chargers, right? Like the Chargers always have issues. They just do. You know what I mean? So I'm not
Yep.
sold on the Chargers. Jacksonville being 13-4, nobody saw that coming. Even I don't know how they did that. The Texans quarterback turned the ball over 10 times in the postseason. The Steelers may not even have a quarterback this year. And the Patriots were the luckiest team ever. I've talked about that on the podcast. With their schedule, they only played against 3 teams with a winning record during the regular season. They went 1-2 in those 3 games. They, got the Broncos team that had no quarterback and no running back. Like, they had a lot of things go their way. I'm not saying they're bad. I don't think that we're going to see another 14-3 Patriots team. So when I look at the teams and their records, if I had to pick a team to repeat as the division winner with a great record, it's the Broncos at 14-3.
Yeah,
which is wild to say because, hey, the Chiefs are still there. The Chargers were a playoff team, but this is the team that if I had to pick one, I would. Because also, look at the the point differential is pretty good for all these teams. Well, not the Steelers, but they're good for all these teams. But I think these two are going to come back down to earth when they play harder schedules. Whereas Broncos, I think, will be all right in the hard schedules because they play to the level of their competition.
I have a question for you. Don't stop me when you think Sutton and Waddle is a better duo, okay? Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams.
Oh, no way. Also, okay. Better duo, I still think... the Troy Franklin thing is still interesting to me because, that's 3 mouths to feed now, right?
Sure.
I worry that with so many mouths to feed, will none of them be super fantasy relevant? You know what I mean? Because you can have 2 guys on a team,
right,
and be fantasy relevant. So just for context, these questions you're asking, Mitch, are you asking me to base it on what I think their fantasy relevance will be, or how good the receiving core will be in the actual game of football?
Just for the QB rankings. So last year we didn't really have Stafford high because of his back, but we all agreed that Puka and Adams was, insane. You know what I mean? Jamar Chase and T. Higgins is why.
So you're asking more for what this will do for the quarterback then, not the receiver.
Oh, just what do you think it'll? Yeah, exactly. Because I agree with you. I don't think they're going to throw it enough. So, I'll go to 2000 really quick. 2006 Saints roster. Give me 1 second. Okay, so when Marquise Colston under Sean Payton led the league in just about every single category, can you name me another wide receiver on the team? It's been a long time, so it's not fair.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was the Jimmy Graham era, but I don't know. But
that was later. So it was there wasn't. It was Goodwin, Jonathan Goodwin, Gleason, and I forget the other names. And then the same thing with Michael Thomas's years is. So I think it can feature one guy massively. I agree with you. I don't think it could support 2, especially with the emergence of Franklin. They're not going to just full bench him.
Yeah, the one thing I do need to say, though, you keep saying you don't think they're going to throw enough. It is worth noting that the Broncos threw the ball more than any other team last year. Bo Nix had 612 passing attempts, ahead of Dak Prescott at 600, ahead of Stafford at 597. Then it goes down from there. So
okay, I apologize. I mean it more in the sense of consistently enough. Some games they just don't throw the ball. That's and then the other games
I will give you on that 612 passing attempts though, their yardage was significantly lower. Bo didn't even throw for 4,000 yards, whereas the next 3 guys threw for 4,500 plus. So.
Well, I didn't even realize they had that many attempts, which even goes to show that they're not even looking to throw the ball down the field. So some games, and that is kind of the Peyton offense with Breeze, is they just kind of dink dunk all the way down the field. Sure, I guess I watched a lot of Bronco. I probably watched every Bronco game last year, no joke. And it's just for me, is they don't throw the ball unless they have to. That's my issue with it. I didn't realize they were that high in attempts. So if there's a regression to the curve on that, that's even scarier. You know what I mean? You just kind of made it even scarier for me that if you don't think they're going to repeat top in attempts, that's even less production for these guys. All right, go back to the thing. So no Puka and Adams. How about Lamb and Pickens?
Oh, no, yeah, no, give me Lamb and Pickens all day.
Chase and Higgins.
This one's a little closer only because of the injury issues. If you told me they're going to play all year, I'm taking Chase and Higgins. So I'm going to pick them, but my asterisk is there's a world where Higgins doesn't play most of the year. You know what I mean?
Then it's Andrea Silvas, yeah.
Yeah, and that changes my answer, right? If it's just Jamar Chase and...
I 100% agree with everything you said there. I like Higgins and Chase healthy. St. Brown and Williams.
I do like St. Brown and Williams, but I do think from a consistency standpoint, I would take the Broncos core.
I kind of 100% agree with you on that one. I think I'd still lean Brown and Williams. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. And remember, this isn't necessarily fantasy, so I do like AJ Brown here.
Yeah, like that one's hard for me just because like the team they play on is like not a passing football team.
Yep.
But like
If you were QB, Alex, would you rather have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith or Cortland Sutton and Jalen Waddle?
if I was quarterback, I'd rather have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
I think I agree. Would you
I
rather have?
full disclosure, I'm not high on Devonta Smith at all, but I think AJ
Sure.
Brown is enough better than every other person in the package that it's worth taking his side.
I completely agree. Jackson Smith and Jigaba and Rashid Shaheed.
No, I would take the Broncos over that.
Um, Brian Thomas Jr. and I guess you could pick Parker Washington or Jacoby
I think the
Meyer.
right answer is Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
That one's tricky because I'm actually a big Jacoby guy. I just don't know enough about Brian Thomas Jr. because like all the games where he doesn't play with Trevor Lawrence, he's good. The games where he does play with Trevor Lawrence, he's bad. And it's like, well, you can just say Trevor Lawrence is bad, but the Jags went 13-4, so can I really say that? So it's
Right.
hard for me to like. He's hard to judge. He's played 2 years. He's had one good one, one bad one. So because of consistency, I would as a quarter, if I'm the quarterback, I'd rather have the Broncos receivers because I trust those guys more.
Yeah.
I don't
Would you
trust
rather
BTJ to catch the ball.
would you rather have Pittman Jr. and DK Metcalf or the Broncos
Give me the
receiver?
Broncos all day, every day.
Would you rather
If
have
look, if you ask me this question, if the Pittsburgh receivers is from 5 years ago, I change my answer. But in
just
2026, the
joking
year of our Lord, no, I'm going.
I wouldn't put them in that order. I was just having fun with that. How about for fun again, how about Mike Evans and Ricky Pearsall?
Dude, you know that I love Mike Evans probably more than anybody. Like, I'm tempted to choose that because like I would just throw it to him every play if I'm the quarterback.
And ignore
And have
ignore
look,
Pearsall.
my best chance of completing a pass is throwing a jump ball and letting Mike Evans do the work, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And
Or just
and
throwing it as
Cortland
far as
Sutton
you
and
can
Jalen
and
Waddle are
Waddle just
shorter guys. I gotta hit a passing window
yeah.
there.
You're just gonna throw it up and pray Waddle outruns. And how about here's a real one that I actually skipped over. I missed Nico and Higgins, or technically Tank Dell if you like Dell better.
I'll take the Broncos. I do think Nico's the best player, but there's just so many injury issues, and I think Higgins is the clear four. Like it's one of those where the Texans are the 1-4 and the Broncos are the 2-3 in this scenario.
Yep.
But I think the four is far enough behind the 1, 2, and 3 that I would take the Broncos.
And then the last one I could put in this category, unless you think I'm missing someone, is DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, give me the Broncos. I like DJ Moore, but I don't want any party because
So you're the same as me, basically. That puts them at 5 or 6, depending on your viewpoint. Like, so they go from Cortland Sutton and Troy Fields. I don't know where you would have ranked them in the duo. They would have been probably a lot lower than 5 or 6. So that is a massive jump, and now you're entering the elite territory with like a Cowboys offense, who am I missing? Bengals offense with those guys. Now, granted, the Eagles not such a great with theirs, but the Lions offense great with those guys. Basically, all those duos that we named, Rams offense. Out of all those 6 guys, we just named top 5 fantasy offenses, and the one that's looking outside in is Najigba and Shaheed, another top fantasy offense. So 6 of the 7 of those duo wide receivers named are on top fantasy offenses. Maybe those wide receivers spread the field so much that it opens up the tight ends and the running backs. I'm not going to try and deep dive that much. All I'm trying to point out, the obvious, is if you put them in that category now, all of a sudden, are the Broncos just not going to have a top 5 offense, 6 offense? Or are we looking at a realistic Sean Payton offense loaded with some of the most talent he's ever had, even his years with Kamara, Breeze, and an aging Graham? I think this offense might be the best he's ever had.
I mean, that I'm not going to go that far because he had Drew Brees.
That's
Uh,
fair.
and you got to keep in
Totally
mind,
fair.
if you look at the list, I was looking at it today of the top 5 most accurate quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah,
It's like a bunch of not scrubs, but like a bunch of super mid players, and then Drew Brees. That's how good he was. Like he
for
was a
sure.
great that was also accurate because all the other greats aren't as accurate. Not that they're not accurate, but like not as accurate. Like the fact that you had an all-time great who was also one of the most accurate ever. Just for context, some of the other guys on the list, Mitch, were like Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyler Murray are on the list of top 5 most accurate quarterbacks of all time. And it's
For
like
sure.
you're not happy to have either of those guys start for your team, but you know who you are happy
Yeah.
to have start for your team? Drew Brees. So it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to say that, like, yes, the overall talent around him may absolutely be better overall, and I do like Bo Nix as a player, but Drew Siffer's on a whole other level.
Last time Sean Payton had a defense with under Greg Williams, I mean, they all got
Bountygate.
suspended and fined for Bountygate, but they ended up going to Super Bowl. And if it wasn't for a crazy, ridiculous pass interference call that wasn't called, I know everyone remembers what I'm talking about. They probably would have had another Super Bowl. So, with that defense and that offensive talent and scheme, and under, yeah, I don't know. I just like it. Oh, sorry. I don't want to derail it too much, but speaking of Breeze, he was on one of the shows that I listened to, and he recently told a story that this will be good for people like you and your father will enjoy the story. When he hurt his shoulder, he went down to Miami before New Orleans, and because this was a story about talking about the Max Crosby rescinding of the trade based off of a failed medical. So Drew Brees said he had basically signed with the Dolphins, and guess who was the first year head coach of that team? It's Nick Saban, and the offensive coordinator is the Cowboys head coach for a longest time, Williams. What's his name?
Garrett Williams.
Garrett Williams, thank you, was the offense coordinator. They gave him a contract and signed him, but the doctors said they would not trust that shoulder or whatever. So they ended up signing Dante Culpepper. Drew Brees said he originally wanted Miami first, New Orleans second, went to New Orleans second because of that failed medical, which they said because of our respect to you, Drew, we're not going to make this public. We're just going to say we chose Dante Culpepper over you. So Brees ended up going to New Orleans. Guess what? Nick Saban does terrible in Miami for the next year and a half and bails on the team halfway through the season and bails to Alabama and establishes one of the greatest dynasties ever in college football. So Breeze is like, I am responsible for the greatest college dynasty ever built because if my shoulder was just a little bit more healed, I would be in Miami with Nick Saban, and I doubt he would have gone back. He's like, if I just had half the career I did with Sean Payton in New Orleans, Nick Saban would have been a successful head coach in Miami.
So basically, what you're saying, I had to suffer through all those Alabama wins because of Drew Brees. Man, I used to like Drew Brees, but
Well, you could even go farther
you
back
tainted him for me.
if the Chargers didn't abandon Breeze for Rivers and just took the chance on his injured shoulder and re-signed him instead of letting him go after he won Comeback Player of the Year. By the way, that year he hurts his shoulder at the end of that season. They just let him go. So the Chargers could have signed him, or the Dolphins could have signed him, and yeah, the Nick Saban. Well, yeah, the Dolphins got him. Then the Nick Saban dynasty never exists. The comeback, sorry, the kick six, all gone.
Yeah, you never know what little butterfly effect can happen throughout the world, and also like we may not have Hall of Fame Drew Brees. Maybe he flames out as a Dolphin, and everything still happens, and it's just Drew Brees is the one whose life is altered forever, right? You never know what's
True.
going to happen.
That's a
Um,
good point. But I'm assuming Breeze will have half the Hall of Fame career he has that he did in New Orleans. That would have at least kept Saban's job for a bit, right?
well, keep in mind, Saban wasn't fired. He left. He packed his stuff and ran like a
He
coward
did.
in the middle of the night. Look,
He's like, I'm out.
say what you want about how great he was as a college coach. He is one of the worst all time NFL coaches. Um, but
Do you think there's a chance he ever comes back to the NFL?
no,
Okay.
no chance. I think he's done coaching, but I think his style didn't work there. He needs to be like for his. He's great at what he does, but for what he does to work, he needs to be the authority figure.
Yeah.
And you can do that with college kids, and we call them kids, even though like yes they're adults, but really like it's the first time you're on your own. You're still kind of a child in your mind, so to speak. Not a child, but you know what I'm saying, Mitch, right? Like
Yeah.
you can do that with college age people. You can't do that with 25 to 30-year-old men who are like now professional athletes. You're not going to have that same level of authoritarianism over them, and I
Yeah.
don't think his style works without that.
I agree. It's like Robert Salah and the Jets. How's Q Williams gonna listen to you when he's making $78 million and you're making five? You know what I mean? It's like in college, none of those guys, well, now they kind of do, maybe one or two players, but none of those college players are making that kind of money to be like, who are you, coach? So your voice, like Nick Saban, carries a lot more when, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the flip side of it is now the Dolphins, right? They traded away um Waddle, right? So if I told you last year, at the beginning of the year, and just another question I'm going to propose to you, um, the Raiders, Jets, Cardinals, and Titans are going to finish as the last four place teams. Would you draft any of those fantasy players? Like I know there's good fantasy players in those. Like if you ended up getting Michael Wilson or whatever, then or what's his name? McBride, So I'm trying to say is like, is there anyone on the Dolphins that you can comfortably, even HN, that you can comfortably draft as let's say our fantasy draft was tomorrow, that you would be willing to take like a flyer on a team that's clearly tanking and is going to make Malik Willis go out there and do everything himself, even play defense. So, like, what's the status of the Dolphins' fantasy value for you?
It's pretty low because when you think about it, it's like who's going to catch passes? I can't even name the receivers now, Mitch. If I had to
Yeah,
take someone, it'd
it's
be
Tutu
Achan.
Atwell.
I was super low on Achan last season, and he was great. Um, so obviously, like he is a good football player. He is going to, he's going to make something happen. Now, I'm not like trying to get him super high or anything, but like he is the one person because he finishes what is this, RB7? So like, he was a top running back, and now that they're going to have even less weapons, he's going to get even more work most likely, because they have no choice, and the Dolphins have said they're not trading him. So I think he's going to be their workhorse. So if I had to take someone, it'd be Achan. I would be okay with taking him as my RB1 if I went like an early wide receiver or running back, excuse me, early wide receiver quarterback strategy. He's not.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy with him as my RB1 if he was my first round pick.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to get at with a poorly worded sentences. Okay, so if you look at the Raiders, Jets, Cardinals, Titans, those are the four worst teams last year.
Right.
You took a running back on any of those teams, like Genty started doing okay second half of the year, but he costed way too much for a first round pick. Brees Hall, whatever. The Cardinals rotated a running back every single week, and the Titans didn't have anyone substantial really that you can rely on. So now we're assuming the Dolphins are probably going to be a bottom four team. Is that realistic to say? Safe to say?
100%.
So that's what I'm trying to get at is are you going to take the chance on HN when statistically bottom four teams don't produce a running back or even really fancy relevant wide receivers? Because if you take all four of these teams, Titans, Cardinals, Jets, Raiders, you might have what, three or four fantasy relevant players, and good luck guessing who they're going to be. If you guessed Michael Wilson before the year, then you're a better fantasy manager than me. But I'm not going to be able to guess that. Like I know Vinny was all high on Garrett Wilson and stuff like that, and he looked good at the beginning, but it's like good luck guessing the guy who actually does well for one of these teams. And if it's HN and you draft him, then you're a better fantasy manager than me. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like it's just not worth touching any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, Achan's too good to not touch, right? Like there have been good players on bad teams that make things happen. So he's too
For
good to
sure.
not touch. But I agree. Like it, I think they'll be the worst team in football. I don't see how they're not.
Right.
So they weren't great defensively. They've gotten rid of a couple of their good defensive players. They're not great offensively, and they've gotten rid of their quarterback, their wide receiver one. They potentially cut their tight end. We talked about that story previously. And oh, by the way, they're paying more than half their salary this year to players who are no longer on their team.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is when you look how it sets up for them next year, they're going to be the team with the third most cap. So yeah, they're going to be so terrible this year, but I think it's actually, what's it called? It's like ripping the Band-Aid off and just letting it heal without the Band-Aid or whatever. It's like, that's kind of what they're just bleeding out for this year. And then they'll probably be so I understand it. The new GM, oh my God, I hate names. I'm terrible with names, but he's doing an actual, I think, good job. The dead cap is contracts from, previous GM. Can't do much about it. So I'd rather be absolutely terrible for a year and then be free next year and have the third most cap. So it's actually not terrible. It's just, oh my gosh, this next year for the Dolphins is going to be brutal. It's going to be like the Jets. And then I'm gonna have to get on a podcast here in 3 months, and Vinny's gonna argue like Tutu Atwell is gonna be a top 24 receiver, and I'm gonna have to put a pie bet on it or something. Like, this is no, just stay away from them. Just don't talk about the Dolphins. Don't go near them.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. And let's go to the salary cap thing because you actually talked about this in our text thread. What do you
Yeah.
think about what they're doing with their salary this year? Is that not just insane? What are your thoughts on that?
For the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, they have to, right? So they're doing it just basically to flip for next year. It's the best, it's the way you can not compete and then compete the fastest. Because dead cap reduces each year. I forget the exact numbers. Um, like massive incrementally. So I forget what it was, but they'll be the third most cap space next year, third highest. So theoretically, you got a very good deal that you could get out from Malik Willis if he doesn't do well this year, and you didn't even really pay him that much. It was like 22 a year. That's crazy low. I don't know how he didn't demand higher in the market. Whatever. That's a whole different podcast. But yeah, they really don't have anything, and then that salary cap completely flips next year the way he's done it. It looks real bad now, but it's actually the correct moves. So yes, I think the Dolphins have done. I said in the text thread the Dolphins have won the offseason. I truly do. They're going to be 0 and 16, but they definitely won the offseason because it's going to set them best up for the future. The Jets are the opposite end, where it's like they didn't free any salary cap space. They traded guys for picks, and then they're going to use them and top high picks, and they're going to eat up their salary. So it's like you better hit on those picks. Whereas the Dolphins are probably just going to play the free agency market because who doesn't want to go play in Miami? So that's what I'm saying is he set it up for their team, I think, the best, in my opinion.
Yeah. Maybe so. It's a tough pill to swallow when you have a $300 million salary cap and you're paying 175 million of it
Yeah.
to players to not play for you. That's just it's such a crazy statistic, man. I think
Yeah,
you
for
put
context,
a graph out of like that's like the most all time by far,
yeah.
right?
Yes, it's the most all time by like 40 million. And for context, the Saints are in third with like 55 or something like that. And that was supposed to be like the Jets are high because they're just being crazy bad organized right now, or ran. But the Saints are considered what, like a normal franchise that's not, and they're like third highest in dead cap at 55. And everyone's like, whoa, that's crazy. Don't ever go that high. 180 for the Dolphins. There's also, Alex, what I was reading with the legal minutia for anyone listening that likes this stuff as much as I do, is like you have to spend 90% of the cap every 3.5 years or whatever. It's like that because that's the rotation of the average NFL player's career or whatever.
Uh huh.
So, like, a lot of the dead cap of them doing it now increased their spending this year to hit that 90% or whatever. So it was a bunch of other legal stuff that they just were like, yep, this makes the most sense. Bye, Waddle. Also, if I were Waddle behind closed doors, I think, you know, what I mean, you only have so many years as a wide receiver before you physically fall off a cliff. I don't care who you are. It happens, you know, somewhere between that 31 to 33 range. Like Waddle's done his like he's paid his dues, you know what I mean? He probably behind closed doors. Just go tell my agent, "Hey, I'm not playing for you guys this year." And it was that easy. So, yeah. Dolphins fans, just tough it through next year, and I promise you things are going to be better.
Yeah, I mean I mean it can't get worse, right? So we'll see, but I mean the Dolphins, yeah, they seem to be in a complete rebuild. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to be hopeful if you're a Dolphins fan. Is all I'm saying. I'm a Raider fan. I don't know what hope is either. But like, at least we had money to spend, so we went out and spent it on players to play for our team. You know,
Yeah.
it's got to be tough not having players and having to
Also,
pay to go play
think
someone else.
yeah, think of it from Waddle's point of view too. He's going to play a meaningful game past like November for like the first time in his pro career.
Oh, I'm sure
It's,
Waddle's stoked. Yeah. Well, I
yeah.
mean, you never know. Like maybe you like the Miami life, and now you're going to Denver. Two very different environments. We'll see.
Yeah. And speaking of wide receivers, I don't mean to derail it again, but like I will not comment on this for obvious reasons. But this is just a hypothetical, so you don't have to go deep dive into it. You can just give me like a 2 sentence answer or whatever. But how would it have changed your opinion of AJ Brown if he goes to the Dolphins in the next 3 weeks? Because serious sources that I trust that aren't just like, hey, let me put this out so I can get clicks or whatever. Like when they put stuff out, like it's got real, you know, what's the saying? Like smoke, fire, or whatever. Apparently the three teams he listed to the Eagles were Chiefs, Bills, Dolphins. And that was as recently as like a couple weeks ago. What would your opinion and just I won't even answer it for obvious reasons on AJ Brown. We can wait for Vinny too. But I'm honestly interested in your analysis of like AJ Brown as not just the player, but like as a person and why he would choose Miami in his short list.
Uh, my guess is, and this is a pure speculative guess. This isn't based in any like fact or truth that I know. My guess is that AJ Brown just wants to go back to a situation where he is getting a bunch of targets every game. And he knows that if he goes to the Dolphins, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot because they're going to be behind, and they're going to throw it to him because he'd be their best player. I think he wants to be the like he. You made this kind of argument the other day about Mike Evans, saying, well, Mike Evans has his ring, so he doesn't need to chase a championship. He just wants to chase his legacy. Well, AJ Brown has his ring. I don't think he's chasing legacy. I think he just wants to be a top wide receiver while he still can. You talk about how Jalen Waddle has a limited time before you fall off that cliff. Well, AJ Brown is a guy who thinks he's one of the best wide receivers in football, and maybe he is, but he doesn't get to prove that. He has to watch all these other wide receivers like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase go out there and get all these accolades that he doesn't get, not because he can't make the catches, but because he doesn't have the quarterback
Or the scheme.
or the scheme. And that's not a
Yes.
shot. That's not meant to be a shot at
No, 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 it's okay.
it hurts. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
it's not meant to be a shot at Hurts. It's just that's not the scheme they play. That's not the style of football he plays.
You don't have to deep what just because it's all hypothetical, but I'm telling you, if if you hear in the next couple weeks, especially before the draft, he'll probably get the most because you want to trade before the draft because then you can get picks for AJ Brown and use them this year type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it could happen in the next couple shortly. So if it does, I'm just putting it on the podcast. Like obviously the Chiefs and the Bills is obvious, right? But let's put that aside for a second. Just focus on the hypothetical of the Dolphins. Where do you slot him as fantasy wide receiver? Because he was being drafted ninth or eighth overall, even behind the Nicos and that kind of thing. I think he was seventh overall in our league, if I remember. Where, or actually, I think it was sixth. Sorry. Where would you slot him? Just for fun. Don't have to go in because it's all hypothetical as of now. Let's pretend he goes to the Dolphins. We just found out today. Where
So
and then let's make it fair. Let's make it PPR or non PPR. Where does it change?
I think he's better in non PPR. He's not a high catch
Volume.
guy as much as he is. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, like, look, given the situation he was in last year, he was still a top, what is this, 15 wide receiver.
For sure.
So, I mean, I think it's fair to say that he's top 10 for sure. Um,
Would you slot him above like an Amon-Ra St. Brown?
no, I don't think he's top 5.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah.
you don't think he would enter the top five guys like the Lamb neighbors? Jay, do you put him ahead of Justin Jefferson?
Let me rephrase. I think there is a possibility that he is a top 5 guy. I don't want to say that without seeing it because it's so much of an unknown because of like when you look at AJ Brown, right?
Yeah.
His 1,000 yards like doesn't look great, but then you have to keep in mind, well, it's 1,000 yards, but he doesn't play the whole season. So what if he played every game? And it's like, is he not playing every game because he doesn't feel like playing? Is he not playing every game because he's legitimately hurt? So it's like this is a guy who's been injured. So is he going to play the whole season? And then if he is he still the guy he was 2 years ago? Because yeah, in 2022 and 2023, when he played the full 17 games, he was a 1,500-yard guy, right?
Yeah,
But the
it's
last 2
crazy.
years, he's been a 14 game player and only had 1,000 yards, right? Now that's on less targets, but again, it's on less targets. He's playing less games, so it's hard to evaluate. Is his production going down because of the scheme, because of
Scheme,
the
yeah.
injury, or because he is getting older, right? And
I
then
think it's the
also
scheme.
Malik Willis has never been the QB1 for a full season. I don't know what that looks like.
Agreed, but
So
he was serviceable in Green Bay to where you can maybe at least assume.
he
Okay, that's
he was,
interesting. I
but
like
Green Bay
that.
had an amazing running game to
True,
complement
true.
that.
Okay, now to piggyback off that question, um, does I know this may sound like a dumb question at first, but the more and more and more I think about it, I don't think it is. Does his fantasy value increase, or is it higher as a Bill or a Dolphin?
I think it's higher as a Dolphin because as a
Interesting.
as
So
a
do
Bill, there's
I.
a lot more mouths to feed.
So basically, just be the guy with no one else around, and they might even trade Achan, you know, and just be the guy. And you're just, and like you said earlier, I don't think the Dolphins are going to be ahead ever in a game, like ever, except for maybe the first quarter. So yeah, AJ Brown's going to be like just targeted 18 times a game on the Dolphins. I'm not sure how many that catches that will equivalent in yardage, but yeah, this dude's going to get 18 targets a game. Hey, and also, if he does go to the Dolphins, I'm allowed to rescind my, I think it's 2017 or 16 now. I'm allowed to rescind my 8 year no AJ Brown resolution. I might draft him again if he goes to the Dolphins.
Wow, that
Oh,
all that hate erased.
it's a joke. It's a joke. I still
I
probably
know.
wouldn't. But yeah, it would be interesting to see him with a consistent QB because if you really look at it, I don't know if he's ever in his career. You can look from one point of view, you know, one perspective that you can look at, maybe the AJ Brown perspective is he's never had a B plus QB. Like you could, I mean, Hurts takes care of the ball and he's a great game manager and he does make some big clutch throws over the top. But like let's be realistic here. I don't know if AJ Brown's ever been in an offense where he's been featured with an actual QB that can just air it out to him. Like, what is his capability if, you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like, and I'm not one to deny the talent level of AJ Brown. Holy heck, he could be number one. So yeah, interesting. Just something to keep in mind over the next couple of weeks where if AJ Brown's going to get traded, is going to happen then.
Yeah, I don't. There have been so many moves already that it's weird to think there's still a big move like that out there. Like we've gotten pretty, not that we're deep into free agency. It's only been a couple weeks, but like so much action has happened already. It's hard
Mhm.
to think there's still massive pieces yet to be moved because a lot of people try to make their moves early. Like you said, I think if it's not early, it's going to be one of those last minute things near the draft. So I think we're more
Yeah.
likely to see the action now towards the draft than we are
Right.
in this middle ground.
I agree. If AJ's not traded by the draft, I don't think he's going to be traded before the season. It doesn't really happen that way. Usually teams do it on the draft or more closer to midway through the year because you get the least amount of value post draft for him. It's like a future first round pick. Well, I don't know where that team's going to finish this upcoming year. What if, the NFL is very what's a better word? Like top bottom, guys, teams that finish bottom go to the playoffs type of thing. So it's like this year your pick might be 14 overall, but next year your pick might be 26th overall in the first round. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like usually that's why it almost always happens before the draft, and then if it doesn't, and then it's usually like not till October or November or whatever. But yeah, we're seeing the same thing.
All right, homie. I know you're close to your out. What time you got to bail, man? You got to
I
get
got
out of
like
here.
10, I got like 10, like 15 more, I got
All right.
13 more minutes. Yeah.
All right. In that case, I got one more thing I wanted to talk about here. Well, two more. I'm going to go with this one first because it's been really grinding my gears.
Sure.
There's been a lot of talk about the Tom Brady influence on the Raiders and how Tom Brady is involved now and he's going to get involved and he's going to make the team better and he's running our offseason. I just want to point out he's been a part owner since 2024, which means our first full season with him as an owner, 2025, we were the worst team in football. So let's stop acting like he's some messiah. A lot of people consider Bill Belichick to be one of the greatest head coaches of all time. You know what Bill Belichick sucked out loud at? Being a general manager. They're not the same skill set. So regardless of what you think as Tom Brady, known cheater, as a quarterback on the field, that doesn't mean he's going to be good as a front office guy. Maybe he will. I'm not saying he can't be, but I'm just saying like it's wild to me that like everyone's like, oh, you should be hopeful for the Raiders because Brady's in there running the show. Like Brady's never been a GM. Why that doesn't excite me, man? Like if you told me that like some all time great WWE wrestler, if Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to come run an ice cream parlor, like that's cool, but that doesn't mean I think he's going to sell out ice cream. That's not the same thing. It's a different talent. So yeah, I mean we'll see. I just I'm not sold on that. And the reason I bring that up is, the Raiders are pretty much kind of all in on Mendoza. They're going to take him as the first pick, be their quarterback, blah 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 blah. A lot of analysts are saying that had he been in that quarterback class a couple years ago with Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy, who all went in the first round, he'd probably be around the fifth quarterback taken. This is a really weak class, and like it's hard to get excited about Tom Brady running our team and us, drafting a quarterback in Mendoza when he might not be that good. Because when I think about those quarterbacks being the fifth one taken, well, Williams, Daniels, Drake May, and Bo Nix, if they're good, the fifth one is Penix and McCarthy, and those guys aren't. You know?
Okay, so assuming you want to take a QB either this year or next year, right? Would you be willing to sign up for another year of tanking to be in the top three next year? Because if next year's draft is as advertised, and which is very hard to predict, by the way, with NIL, why would you not stay like the QB of Texas for another $10 million if you know what I mean? So it's a lot harder to know who's coming out. Would you sign up for another year of tanking if it guaranteed you top three for next year? Say like don't take Mendoza, either use that pick for lineman or trade down, whatever, and stack some picks and get lineman or whatever that you fill out the team, and then next year get your QB because you're going to want to take a QB in the next couple of years, this year or next year, right? Or are you looking for a free agent QB?
Yeah. So to answer your question, if I were the GM of the Raiders, I would probably be looking to trade down and trade out of the pick. Because,
Sure.
yes, when you pick this high, you need to take a quarterback. Because you don't get the first pick in the draft often. I mean, if you do, you're terrible. So, like, ideally, you don't get the first pick in the draft often. So when you do, you have to make the most of it. So, yeah, you either have to take a quarterback or you have to trade down. I just don't know that, like, he was a good quarterback, but he's not great. His college stats weren't great. I'm not sold on Mendoza. So if I were the Raiders GM, I would trade down, get as much capital as I could, try to build my offensive line because it doesn't matter who our quarterback is until we have an offensive line. Then we can look at the landscape next year and then see about if some of the draft capital we've required, do we trade up to go get somebody, or were we bad enough again this year without a quarterback that we have a high pick still, right? We probably will, or is there a free agent as you mentioned? I just think. I think you have to take your quarterback when there's an opportunity. I just don't think this is the guy. So,
So if you trade out and don't take Mendoza, who would you be interested in being the QB for the Raiders?
well, I would have for this season. I would have gone after Kyler just because we need a quarterback who can run because we have no offensive line. That's no longer an option. All the quarterback dominoes are kind of fallen.
Yep.
But like I can absolutely see a world where we trade out of it. We try to get some offensive linemen, then maybe try to trade for a Mac Jones, right?
Yeah.
Like get someone like that in here. Now that's not the running quarterback I want. That wouldn't be ideal. But I'm just saying like if we needed a
Would you be
stopgap measure in the
would you be
meantime,
okay with a Cousins, Flacco, or Wilson?
as a temporary measure, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Also, back to your point about Tom Brady, I agree with everything you're saying. The only thing I will say is there are Ozzie Newsome, John Lynch, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Dan Morgan, John Dorsey, Matt Millen, John Spytek are all former Hall of Fame players who turned GM and built championship teams. So I will say Hall of Fame players can turn GM sometimes and be good scouts or talent evaluators. I agree with you that like on the flip side, I don't think Jordan was a good GM and Wayne for the Bobcats or whatever, or Hornets or whatever you want to call them. And Gretzky was a terrible GM slash coach for the Coyotes. So I agree with what you're saying that they don't always guarantee to make GMs, but a lot of times you're playing hey, maybe we got the new John Lynch or Elway, being the GM for the Broncos or whatever. You know what I mean? So like maybe we got the new big stud or whatever. So that's what I think is what the Raiders are excited about. Or as a neutral fan, looking in at the Raiders like, wow, you guys might have gotten the next best GM for the next X amount of years, all because they let him buy into his team. The only thing that bothers me about Brady is I was watching the NFC Championship. It was Rams Seahawks. And Brady, there's a clip that you can Google. I was trying to find it real quick, where it's like Brady goes, "Yeah, and my guy is so great at calling these types of plays, RPO plays." But I'm like, he was announcing the game, by the way. And we're like, wait, who's your guy? What do you mean, my guy? And then you realize he was talking about Kubiak. Then fast forward 2.5 months later, he's the head coach of the Raiders. And the whole time during the playoffs, Kubiak didn't announce that, there's all these job vacancies and everyone kind of assumed he was it. And then it was like, why isn't Kubiak? Oh, he must have already gotten it. And then Brady accidentally let it slip while announcing a game that, hey, my guy calls these plays. And Brady admitted that he didn't mean to say that. So it's like, it's not that I don't mind him running the Raiders, but he's announcing NFL games. And it's like,
Yeah, you can't tell me that's not a conflict of interest, by the way.
That's what I'm getting to, is someone complained to the league office or whatever, is because the commentators are supposed to get access to players before the game so they can like figure out more about the game. You know what I mean? Like Al Michaels will go in and talk to Cousins or a couple of the players so he gets what's the word, like stuff material to talk about during the game, or what things the or Collinsworth is getting told things like, hey, look for this or this when you see it, we're doing this or whatever, so you know it looks good on the network. Where Brady's gonna go in and be like, how do you feel about this player? And it's like, wait, this is a scouting report. This isn't like front off. This isn't like commentating play-by-play contrast or whatever, commentator, sorry. So it's like there's a massive interest if you're going to come in and have these pre-meetings with me, and then, oh, by the way, in 2 weeks we play the Raiders. Like, it's weird stuff going on. The NFL's allowing to happen with Brady. So it's not that Brady is your GM. That's actually really, really, really cool. I think it's all the other stuff going on that's like, this man was accused of cheating a lot, and now he's commentating and having media access that other coaches don't get. And apparently, Sean Payton was one of the guys who was like, "You're not interviewing me." And he played the Sunday night game or whatever, I forget it was. And Sean Payton's like, "You're just not having this pre-game interview with us. Sorry." And NBC's or whatever. Or, sorry, Sunday night is not ESPN. It's yeah, NBC. They're like, you're not doing this. It's been going on for like 20 years. It helps us do our broadcast. And he's like, nope, no reason. Because you're in the same division with Tom Brady and the Raiders. No, thank you.
Again, I'm not saying he can't end up being a good general manager. Not this Jim. I'm not saying that his influence can't be helpful. I just find it ironic that everyone's talking about how great it is that his influence is going to be there when we know nothing about how he can run a business. All we know is that he cheated on the football field, and his first year as an owner, we were the worst team in football. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, no, for sure. I want to know how much he maybe has influence on like taking what's his name, Genty.
Yeah, I have, and I wasn't gonna get that, but I've been happy with our first round pick 2 years in a row.
Gotcha.
It's not Genty's fault that he had no offensive line, right? Like,
Yeah.
And also part of this throw shade at Brady because you know how I feel about him. One last thing real fast before you go.
Yeah.
The Browns have made a proposal to extend the amount of picks you can trade. Instead of trading 3 years worth of picks, you can now trade 5 years worth of picks into the future. The Browns is a team that made their first round pick in the last 5 years this year because they kept trading them away, where guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Brian Thomas Jr. were drafted with the picks they traded away. So
and Willie Anderson Jr.
It's crazy that they're just trying to make it where they can give away even more of their picks. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think teams should be able to mortgage their future 5 years in the future, Browns notwithstanding?
It's going to be very interesting. It's going to allow the better GMs to be better GMs.
And the worst ones to tank their futures even worse.
Yeah,
that's the scary part. Right.
Yeah. I don't. It's going to be the owners are going to have to really. Maybe the owners are going to have their own set rules on their GMs. Like, hey, you can't trade this year, the year 4 or 5 pick without my approval or something like that. I feel like that'd be like behind closed doors. This is just allowing an owner to do it if the owner wants to. It's his team; he can do what he wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm betting the GM doesn't have full capability, but yeah, that's tough. That's real tough. It's exactly what you said. It's going to make the better GMs able to stack picks so much better.
I know you got to go though, Mitch. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to know what you think. What percentage does Tom Brady play in your guys' first overall pick? Like, how much influence does Tom Brady have in? If Tom Brady comes in and goes, Mendoza's the guy, F everyone else's opinion, are they going Mendoza? Or is it like, thanks, Tom, for your input. It's going to go into the data pool of all the other scouts and all the, the just jambalaya of hodgepodge of information.
Normally, I would say it's just he gets to give his opinion, but it's still the decision of like the GM and the owner because the GM is the one whose job is on the line, right? That being said, there's a lot of turmoil with the Raiders right now. Tom Brady is a part owner. Now, it's a small part, but he's a part owner. There is talk of the Raiders trying to transfer the majority ownership from the Davis family to a different person,
Sure.
which obviously So there's a lot of turmoil going on, so it's really hard to say who is calling the shots right now, given that what is going on.
Right. And I'll just say this, like obviously I'm not in the big corporate world and everything like that, but from my experience, anytime doesn't matter how large or small the percentage is, a owner always supersedes a GM. So like anywhere I've worked, if the GM's like we're doing this, this, and this, and a we had an owner who only had like 7% at the last place I worked or whatever. I think it was less than that. He's like, I want the VIP rent this or this and this, and then the GM's like, all right, sounds good. That's what we're doing. So like if Brady's an owner and he comes in and he's like, "This is my guy," how much can a GM really be like, "No"? That's what my interest is. It's like how much does Tom Brady? Because usually it's just one owner or it's one family. So if Jerry Jones comes down and goes, "Guys, I like Johnny Manziel." You know what I mean? They have to physically tackle him and take the paper out of his hands. Have you seen that documentary? Where they have to lock the door of the Cowboys board war room meeting and hold Jerry Jones physically and take the paper out of his hand that physically says Johnny Manziel on it to not allow him to go up there and give it to the commissioner. Like that's how, and that's his son doing that to him. So like, you know what I'm trying to say is like how much does, you know, the does Brady, you know what I mean? Because usually it's just one guy. That's what I want to know is if Brady likes Mendoza. I think this is locked and set. It's Mendoza.
Right, but he is an owner, not the owner, right? Like you said, it'd be one like if he goes to the GM and says, "Hey, you need to take this guy." He's like, "Yeah, but Mark Davis told me to take someone else, and Mark Davis owns 10 times more of the team than you do."
Then that's bad structure. That's
Right,
scary.
so
That's not what you want. You usually want.
but that's what I'm saying. I think no matter what is a collaboration, it really just matters how much weight his voice is given. Because if whoever the new majority owner is going to be, or Mark Davis, whoever, like if whoever that person is, just goes with whatever Brady says, then yeah, the GM has to go with whatever Brady says, right? But
Right.
if not, then it creates. I think that's a weird dynamic right now in that room. I don't want you to be late for work, Mitch, though, so
I'm not.
we can
I'm
wrap
not.
it
It's fine.
there.
Perfect.
Anything?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So when it comes down to actually doing something with the first pick, whose voice rings loudest? Davis, Brady, GM. Be very fascinated to know as just like just like just
Yeah,
as a person.
I'd love to know because then I know who I get to blame when it all goes wrong. Because
Brady might not have any say in this, Alex, and everyone's like, "F Brady as a GM. He's terrible. He's Gretzky or Jordan. Get him out of here." And Brady might be like, "Guys, I didn't make any of these picks."
well, I mean, if there's one thing I'm probably never going to be, it's a Tom Brady fan. I mean, there's ways that he could win me over, but it's going to take a lot because I'm not a big fan of the person Tom Brady. So yeah, we'll see. But as a Raider fan, this offseason has been eventful. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad yet. We'll see. But it's definitely been eventful for the
Right.
Raiders.
Yeah, it's like the Cowboys trade. You can't decide right away if who won between Parsons and the Cowboys, but as time goes on, we'll be able to decide.
Yeah, look, at least they give me something to talk about because I don't have anything to talk about on game day that's positive. So at least I can talk about the free agency. All right, Mitch, let's wrap it up here. We'll cover more stuff next week. Any final thoughts to give to the Delvers out there?
Nope. The fantasy research will be starting soon, so we'll get some more deep dives into it. But hope everyone's doing well.
All right. Well, in that case, there's only one thing left to do. Say goodbye, and I'll play us out without bumper music. See you,
Bye
Delvers.
bye.